To Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's video, we have a significant severe weather event brewing across the Great Plains with huge hail, destructive winds, and tornadoes possible. We'll get into what you need to know about that event, and also northwest flow pattern returns with refreshing cool downs for the upper Midwest and possibly some more rainfall as well. And all eyes are on the tropics with two new systems that could form in the Eastern Pacific over the next few days. We'll get into those details later on in today's video. But just a quick look at the overall weather pattern that we are seeing today. We have the northwest flow starting to occur across the upper Midwest here today behind a stronger cold front that did move through yesterday. But then down here across the desert southwest, we are starting to see a ridge of high pressure trying to build out of Mexico there into Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas as we go through the day today. And you can see the heat will be starting to build across those regions. We're up to 111 there in the Phoenix region, up to 115 into the Death Valley area. We're up to 100 degrees in the Albuquerque region. So yeah, it's going to be very hot down there in the desert southwest. But behind the cold front, guys, it does not get much better than this. Look at this in the upper Midwest, upper 70s this time of year. This is beautiful weather for the Twin Cities region, Chicago, Green Bay, back here into Lincoln, Nebraska. Wonderful weather. Get out and enjoy it with the high pressure and lots of sunshine out there today. But where we don't see the sunshine, we are going to start to see more storms, and we have an enhanced risk for severe weather from Denver here into eastern Colorado, getting into southwestern parts of Kansas, into northwest Oklahoma, down into the Goodland region and Dodge City, Kansas here as we go through the day today. And it's really starting off with those isolated supercells. Those could be the storms to produce those 2-inch or larger in diameter hailstones all the way up to the Wyoming-Montana border, all the way down here through the Rapid City region, Cheyenne, getting down into Denver, the Pueblo region, and all the way south almost to Amarillo as we go through the day today. And a threat for tornadoes. A couple rotating supercells will be possible, especially into eastern and southeastern Colorado from the Denver region down through the Lamar region and into portions of northwestern Oklahoma panhandle as we go through today. And you can see those isolated supercells will be popping up this evening. Not everybody will see these, but if you do get under one of these, they could be rotating and they could be producing some massive hail. So definitely something to watch out for going through the evening hours. But then overnight, this is around the late evening into the early morning hours on your Friday, you'll start to see more of a significant damaging wind threat start to emerge across especially western and southwestern Kansas, and then diving southeast into northern Oklahoma. And that's with a complex of showers and storms, with all these supercells starting to merge into a big complex, producing more of a significant wind damage threat across western and southwestern Kansas, and then dropping into northern Oklahoma after midnight. So that will be something we'll have to contend with as we go through tonight. And then going into Friday, more severe weather. This is a lower end day for severe weather. This is a large marginal risk in the dark green here, with a higher chance, relatively speaking, for severe weather from the Kansas City region down through Wichita, Dodge City, and then back up to Denver in this yellow outlined area. That is a level 2 out of 5, a slight risk for your Friday. And then basically the same areas, maybe just a little bit further to the south into Little Rock, near Memphis, Oklahoma City, Dodge City again, and then up toward Denver, another slight risk for severe weather as we go into Saturday. But another big story with this setup is the heavy rainfall. We're going to see some plentiful rainfall amounts across Kansas, getting into Oklahoma, Missouri, and northern Arkansas through the next few days. And zooming it in here, places like Wichita, getting back there in toward the Dodge City region, down into Tulsa, that's going to be the bullseye for the heaviest of the rainfall going through that Sunday morning time frame. 3 to as much as 6 inches of rain could be on the way across this region, and it is concerning for some flash flooding prospects as well. Friday into Saturday, there's a slight risk, at least a 15% chance of flash flooding from southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, back west west across southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma, and a small portion of southeastern Colorado. And then that kind of fans itself out further to the east across the lower Ohio River Valley into the Tennessee Valley as we go into that Saturday, July 8th into Sunday, July 9th timeframe. So definitely watch out for the flash flooding across these areas. And just going over to understand what the flash flooding risk categories are. When you're under a slight risk for flash flooding, scattered flash floods are possible. It's mainly localized, and you have to look out for these on urban areas such as roads, small streams and washes. Isolated significant flash floods are possible, so this is much more of a localized threat, but definitely seeing up to 6 inches worth of rain into parts of Kansas there, and it's good news to see that. Again, we don't want to see it all at once because we are in extreme, even parts of Kansas, an exceptional drought still in the red and maroon red colors here, but we see that drought really starting to expand with severity across the upper Midwest and parts of the Ohio Valley, really going through this latest drought outlook monitor here. And you can see the calculated soil moisture as of yesterday it's getting down there, guys. We really need the rainfall. It's really starting to evaporate quickly, the higher sun angle this time of year. So we really need the rainfall, especially here into eastern Kansas, eastern Nebraska, much of Iowa, Missouri, and the corn crops just need it so desperately across this area. So hopefully we can get in on that action as we go into next week. And it looks like we could, because looking at the northwest flow going through the weekend, we got beautiful temperatures on the way. Going into Saturday afternoon, more of the same, middle to upper 70s up here into the upper Midwest, maybe trickling down into the central plains as well. All the heat will be across the south with highs into the 90s, if not cracking past the triple digit point on Saturday. Waking up Sunday morning, look at these low time temperatures here. We're down into 60 degrees in the Twin Cities region, maybe even outer areas here in the rural regions of the Dakotas and Minnesota. We could be even down into the low 50s as we go into your Sunday morning time frame, and we're heating back up and just to the low to mid 80s Sunday afternoon. So definitely a nice cool down for the northern states as we go through this upcoming weekend. So definitely take advantage of this and get outdoors and have any activities, grilling outside, whether it's just, throwing the ball around, going for a walk with the dog. Just go outside and enjoy this nice, refreshing air off the northwest flow this weekend. Lots of great weather out there. And going into early next week on Monday, another potent cold front dropping from Saskatchewan and Manitoba, Canada, will be dropping south into the northern United States again early next week. And that's just going to provide us with another shot of refreshing air with below normal temperatures favored for this time of year from July 11th through the 15th of the month here. That takes us into the middle of July for the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley, but much more of the heat will be building down here into the Rio Grande Valley, into South Texas, all the way up here into New Mexico and Arizona, with the center of that ridge across those regions. And you can see that early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, we have an upper level low pressure system across the upper Great Lakes and southeastern Canada with that northwest flow. It could be a little bit of a wetter flow as well, with some rain and showers and storms and all that stuff here early next week. But that ridge hangs tough across the Four Corners region, especially into Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas. And it really starts to build across the southwest late next week, with that upper level low really spinning up there into southeastern Canada and controlling that northwest flow during that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame as we go into later next week. So what this will do for our temperatures early next week, well, much more the same. Refreshing air across the northern United States, but the heat will be on across the south. Temperatures back into the 90s and low triple digits here. We could be back to the 100-degree mark into Dallas-Fort Worth as early as Monday, Tuesday next week. 104 there potentially into the Wichita Falls region. And then this really just continues going into late next week, although that refreshing air mass will start to infiltrate a little further to the south and east into the Tennessee Valley at times, into the Central Plains at times, places like Kansas, Missouri, getting a break from the heat. Temperatures will be back into the 80s, nice and refreshing towards the middle there of July. So definitely watching out for that. But with northwest flow, like I said, it will be a wetter pattern at times with showers and storms, possibly some severe weather toward the middle of the month with above average precipitation favored across the northern high plains, getting in towards the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and then even parts of the Northeast could have above average precipitation there as well. But underneath that ridge, do not be expecting any moisture. The monsoon season is turned off for right now. We have well below average precipitation underneath that ridge all across the west, the southwest, and the southern United States toward the Rio Grande Valley into the middle of July. And just looking at the EPS ensemble, this is the European ensemble guidance for next week. It does favor some precipitation with that northwest flow down into at least the lower Midwest, the Ohio Valley there into the Missouri Valley region through next week. And the Canadian ensemble guidance, the CMC, is really even more bullish going into next week with heavier rain amounts for portions of Missouri, south central Illinois, getting into southern Indiana there. So something to monitor with maybe even a flash flooding risk trying to develop across those areas as we go into next week. And also with severe weather as well next week, Monday through Friday, I think it's likely we do see severe weather with the clash of air masses. We have the refreshing air to the north, the heat to the south, and right where they clash, I think we're going to have more likely severe weather somewhere across the northern or central high plains, and then getting east-southeast from there into the lower Ohio River Valley. It's possible in the outlined area in yellow, we see that as far north as Milwaukee, Detroit, getting over here into the Columbus region, perhaps Lexington, Kentucky, and Nashville, Tennessee, some areas to watch for severe weather as we go through next week. But turning to the tropical weather update, nothing to speak of still in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, or the Gulf. It is A-OK still across this region. No new tropical cyclones expected during the next 7 days, and it is a powder keg here across the North Atlantic, guys. Look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. Any system that just wants to develop here will take advantage. I promise you that with all of these warm waters, but there's nothing to speak of in the North Atlantic right now, and any system that tries to develop, any tropical wave that comes off of Africa just has no problem just dissipating because of all the dry air out here, all the wind shear. It's just too far south in general over northern South America, and then it moves over the Central Americas and picks up steam into the Eastern Pacific again, and it's been active. In the Eastern Pacific, we have two areas to watch for significance of tropical development over the next few days. An 80% chance of development, which this is likely to be named Calvin, just off the coast of Mexico over the open waters over the next couple of days, probably this weekend. And then another area has increased odds with a chance up to 40% to be named Dora over the next several days going into next week. So that will be something to watch just south of the Mexico coast over the open waters of the Eastern Pacific. And again, it's somewhat of a powder keg, especially you go further east toward the Central Americas there or near the coast of Mexico. The further west you go, obviously west of the Baja of California, it starts to get a little bit cooler with those water temperatures out there. But we are starting to see some action here off of the Central Americas and over the open waters. A lot of these tropical waves starting to move over the Eastern Pacific, and the first one, 93E, the Invest 93E here, and starts to take this again over those cooler waters. So I think the residence time over the warmer waters is very short, so it may have time to develop, but once it moves west of the Baja there and over the open waters, it is basically going to disappear because of those cooler waters not really sustaining its intensity very much. So you can see that here in full proof on Saturday. We start to see a development here just west of the Mexico coast, and maybe a tropical depression or a tropical storm here, and then it pushes off to the west and just falls apart as it moves west of the Baja early next week on Tuesday, July 11th, as it encounters some cooler waters. But what is this down here? Well, that's another system that could be named Dora just to the south of the Mexico coast, and this storm has a little bit more residence time potentially over the warmer waters, as the GFS, again, the GFS is a little bit more biased always toward a stronger system, so don't put all your money in the bank on this happening to a 997 all at once on Tuesday, but it is showing the prospects of a system as well, generally in the same location as the European guidance, and even the EPS ensemble, the European ensemble guidance, is very much showing lowering of the pressures just to the south of the Mexico coast over the Eastern Pacific Ocean on Tuesday. So that will be something to watch with Dora. as we move forward. We'll see if that becomes a hurricane going sometime into next week. But otherwise, if you like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, including southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics, I promise you folks, this is the place to be. Hit the subscribe button down below. It's absolutely free to do, and you get daily updates on this channel. I do appreciate all the old subscribers, all the new subscribers on the channel as well. It's also very important to press the like button, the thumbs up button down below the video. It does help out more than you know, folks. It really helps to get all this weather information out to as many people amongst YouTube as possible. So I do appreciate that. If you want additional weather forecast updates in addition to today's video, hit the description down below the video and follow me on Twitter at hweather420. I update on that platform fairly frequently throughout the week as well. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button down below, the thumbs up button, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today, and I hope everybody has a great and wonderful rest of your Thursday out there.